Hello and welcome back to another Football Commentaries live stream. The Amex is the location for this Thursday night Premier League fixture as Brighton host Manchester City. Brighton at home have been very strong with just 2 defeats from 15 in the league this campaign against West Ham in August and Arsenal in early April, but form overall has not been great with just 1 win from their last 7. City are currently 17 unbeaten in the league, but have been knocked out of the Champions League last week to Real Madrid. The Blues were somewhat treated though as they progressed to another FA Cup final after victory against Chelsea Saturday just gone. The reverse fixture saw City come out 3-1 winners, but will that be different tonight? It is a huge game in the title race. Of course, Arsenal have got themselves well in front of Manchester City on 4 points. But Manchester City do have 2 games in hand, which will put them back on top if they were to win those 2 games in hand. But it is certainly not a given that Manchester City win all these upcoming fixtures. You know what a title race can do to teams, and usually Manchester City are the team to get through it and go on and win. But it doesn't mean that it's going to happen again. Anything can happen in the title race. Arsenal really strong, winning on Tuesday night 5-0 against Chelsea. But it's going to be tight, it's going to be close, it's going to be so exciting, and I'm looking forward to this game and the overall title race in general, see how it ends. It does look like Liverpool may be out of it after last night's defeat away at Goodison Park in that Merseyside derby, but let's not rule them out until it's mathematically possible. We've already had a donation, absolutely crazy. Thank you very much. I will read that comment in a minute. I know you're telling me off. I just read it before when the countdown was going on. I was just a bit busy before the countdown. I was just sorting something out. And I did read it. Yeah, I did accidentally, on the thumbnail, it looks like I've put 3 M's on the commentary. I do apologise. I will change it afterwards. I'll redo it and I'll change it because that will annoy me knowing it's there. So I'll get that changed. Do apologise, but thank you very much for that donation. Chesterfield v Notts County, that is crazy. That was almost a season ago. My best commentary, my most viewed one. It was crazy. We had over 1,000 people in at one point. It was unbelievable. So thank you very much for that donation. I don't know how much that is in pounds, but whatever amount it is very, very much appreciated. I'm just going to remove that comment because I don't want to be talking about stuff like that with things we don't really know too much about and stuff like that. But another little announcement for you all as well. The first members only podcast is coming out tomorrow. We've got the 1 member so far, but in the do apologise about that noise. In the do apologise because there's 1 member. Obviously, they are wanting to get the content, so I will provide it. So if any of you want to get involved and click the join button at the bottom of the next to the channel, next to the subscribe button, then you can do. It's not forced, but you do get extra content. There'll be a podcast weekly coming to the channel now, and the first one is tomorrow. As we're going to go through both sets of lineups now, as both teams do emerge from out of the tunnel here at the Amex, and we'll start with the Brighton lineup. They make 3 changes from their last league lineup, which was almost 2 weeks ago now, 12 days since they last faced Burnley away from home in their 1-1 draw. Jason Steele comes back in goal after sitting the last 5 on the bench. Back 4 of right back Joel Veltman on the left, making his first start for the club. Will be Valentin Barco, who's brought in from Boca Juniors for just under £8 million, and 2 centre-halves of Lewis Dunk and Jan Paul van Hecker. 2 holding midfielders of Carlos Baleba, who, as once said, one of his idols in football is Kevin De Bruyne, and he'll play alongside Pascal Gross. With a 3 behind the striker on the right, João Pedro on the left, Jakob Murder. In behind the striker will be number 14, Adam Lallana, and through the middle, former Manchester United striker, it is Danny Welbeck. He's got 4 goals so far this season in the league, his last coming against Liverpool at Anfield at the back end of March. For Manchester City, it is 3 changes from that starting 11 against Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final. Ederson comes back in goal with a back 3 of Kyle Walker, Nathan Ake and Josko Gvardiol, with 2 holding midfielders as they set up in that 3-2-4-1. It'll be Manuel Akanji making his 90th Manchester City appearance, and Rodri. And just ahead of them will be Mateo Kovacic, who started 3 of the last 6 now in the Premier League. He plays alongside Kevin De Bruyne, and in front of them on the right-hand side will be Bernardo Silva making appearance 349 for the Blues. On the left is Phil Foden, who's looking for his 50th Premier League goal, and up front, as Haaland is still out injured, it will be Julian Alvarez, who has not scored in the Premier League since the 31st of January when he scored a brace at home against Burnley. They are the 2 starting 11s. It's a must-win for Manchester City. Every game is now a must-win for Manchester City if they want to go and win another Premier League title. If they win another Premier League, it'll be 4 in a row. It's the first ever team to win 4 in a row. It means they would have won 6 titles from 8 seasons under Pep. It would mean they've won 7 in the last 11 seasons. They have just been quite simply unstoppable, and the question mark is, will they ever be stopped? Will this season, will it come to an end, or will they be able to get over the line once again? It will help them overall that there is no Champions League distraction now. Of course, they've got the FA Cup game that's coming next month, so they've got a bit of time to put that aside. It's just all focused on the Premier League. They don't need to worry about a Champions League semi-final, which will help them more in terms of winning the Premier League. So, again, not great news for Arsenal and Liverpool. But then the same goes for them 2 teams as well. Liverpool had been knocked out of the Europa League. Arsenal were also out of the Champions League as well. So it seems like everyone's focus now is on the Premier League. Of course, Manchester City will have to shift their focus back to the FA Cup, but they don't need to shift their focus for another month or so now. So it's all thoughts ahead onto the Premier League to get this 4th title in a row. But it's a challenging place to come to, Brighton. 2 losses this season at home in the league, coming to West Ham in August and then Arsenal most recently in April. And in that game against Arsenal, we covered it on this channel, wasn't great. Not a great performance from Brighton. So they really need to step up their game, especially against Manchester City, of course. Manchester City have only lost once in 14 against Brighton from when they were promoted into the Premier League back in 2017. The win for Brighton did come here. It was a 3-2 win back during the COVID times. So they have beaten them here before, but Manchester City at that point had won the league. Bit different this time. Manchester City don't have any league title wrapped up, far from it. They're doing the chasing at the moment, but wins gets them at the top with these games in hand. As we kick off here at the Amex, it'll be Manchester City's kick-off, kicking left to right. Manchester City right to left, Brighton left to right. And it is the Blues to start on the ball. They are in their away kit tonight. A bit of a darker blue with vibrant red coming off of it. And Brighton are in their home kit tonight. The blue and the white. As it's City to not go long from kick-off. They're going to keep the ball the midway inside their own half. Central area with Rodri, who gets the ball back from Kovacic, and he works it to the left now to Gvardiol. Turns away from Welbeck. Gvardiol just before the halfway line, slips it through towards Kovacic, cut out by Van Hecke, work to the right wing here to Adam Lallana. He's now on the halfway line with Baleba. Veltman forward to Welbeck, kicks it onto Gvardiol, and City have the ball back on this near side here with Phil Foden. Not many options around him, can just play it to his right here to Rodri. He's now into the centre circle with Bernardo Silva. He can play it to his left to Kovacic, 25 yards from goal. Once more to his left here to Alvarez, who enters the box on the left-hand side. One-on-one with Veltman. Alvarez crosses, deflects towards Alvarez again. Kicked away from him by Veltman. It's straight to Rodri's head, and Akanji goes back to Ederson. So it's Manchester City to remain on the ball. Bright start from Pep Guardiola's side, who are on a magnificent run at the moment. They've only lost twice in their last 37 games in all competitions. Manchester City. And one of those losses was that penalty shootout defeat to Real Madrid, where after 120 minutes it was a draw. But obviously, of course, it does go down as a defeat. As it's still Ederson on the ball at the moment, on the edge of the 18-yard box. Brighton sitting in a compact shape, knowing if they leave any spaces, Manchester City will just exploit like they do with every single team that they face. Manchester City have played a lot of football recently, played on Saturday in the FA Cup, played the Wednesday against Real Madrid, 120 minutes. Weekend before that was against Luton, before it was Real Madrid on the Tuesday. City have given it away here. Gross slipping it through, deflected. Danny Welbeck! And it's well kept by Ederson. Diving low to his left and holding it. Bad giveaway from Manchester City towards the edge of the 18-yard box. Definitely not a position you want to give the ball away. But they've survived there. Welbeck with the quick-fire shot. Easily saved in the end by Ederson, who assisted in this fixture last season at the Etihad. Bernardo Silva tries to slip it through to the run of Foden, cut out by the slide tackle of Lewis Dunk. It's now Veltman forward to Jakob Murder on this near side, midway side his own half, being forced to go backwards here and inside. It's not a great pass, straight to Bernardo Silva, through for De Bruyne on the left wing. Can he keep it in? He can with a cross, and it's swept away there by Van Hecke. But City can continue their attack here with Kovacic, still on this near side. Goes to his right here to Rodri. Turns away from Welbeck, tackled though by Lallana. One back though by Bernardo Silva. And City have it in the centre circle with Akanji. To the far side now to Walker. He wants to pass it to his left, and he'll find the simple ball here to Rodri, then through for Kovacic. Back it goes to Akanji on the halfway line. Kovacic, surrounded by Brighton shirts, but he turns away from Welbeck nicely. Finds Walker, and then back to Bernardo Silva. Through for De Bruyne. He's got his back to goal at the moment, but he can work it to his right to Bernardo Silva. He can't quite get it from under his feet. De Bruyne then tackles João Pedro, and it's a throw-in for the Seagulls. Inside their own half, given away there in the Brighton half, in the City half there by Foden, which allowed Welbeck his chance. The ball deflected to Welbeck after the pass from Gross just came off Akanji, and he was aiming for the far corner, Welbeck, but it was a pretty comfortable save in the end by Ederson. There's Brighton play out from the back, outside their box. Baleba brought down by Bernardo Silva. Another free kick for Brighton. Bernardo Silva committing the foul. Well, he scored 7 goals last season, Bernardo Silva. He's now on 11 in all competition, scoring that brilliantly taken free kick against Real Madrid in the first leg at the Bernabeu, scoring within the first 2 minutes of the game. Jason Steele on the ball for Brighton, their goalkeeper, inviting the press here from Kovacic. He'll play it to his left to Dunk. Inside his 18-yard box, he wants to go across here, and he'll find Van Hecke. Alvarez closing him down. Van Hecke plays it through here for Welbeck. Then back it goes towards Van Hecke, being chased down by Foden. He'll work it to Jason Steele, who then switches it out to the left to Barco. Well controlled by the Argentine. Then into Murder. Back to Barco in the 18-yard box here with Dunk. Baleba to the left to Barco. It's risky play, but it's working at the moment. Making City chase this ball down. Lallana on the far side. Forward towards João Pedro. Heavy touch to try and get away from Akanji. Plays it straight to Walker, but then Walker's touch is also heavy. And one back by João Pedro. Running towards goal. Loads of space on the Brighton right here where Veltman's making a run. He finds Veltman in the box. First time pass through. Cut out by Gavardio. Good defending there by the Croatian. And it is Manchester City to have the ball inside their 18-yard box. Ake being told to just relax the play by Manuel Akanji. And it'll be Rodri to bring it forward for City. Midway side his own half here. Goes to his right to the number 20 of Bernardo Silva. Not scored in the Premier League, the Portuguese international, since Newcastle away in mid-January, who switches it out to the left to Gavardio. Brilliantly chested touchdown on the halfway line to bring Kovacic into play with a right-footed pass. De Bruyne is in the left-wing position. He'll find the Belgian on the ball. Back inside to Gavardio. Brighton have everyone behind the ball at the moment, as it's with Manuel Akanji, forward from centre-back, playing that John Stones-like role, coming into the midfield, adding numbers into the Manchester City attack. Still with Akanji. Walker made a run. Wasn't looked at by Rodri there, who was the man on the ball. De Bruyne on this near side. It's the halfway line to Akanji. Can you do the Derby one on May 2024? I'll try. I'll have a look. Again, it's a bit too far in the future to give a definite yes, I can do it. I'm not too sure. Obviously, could I be busy that day? So I'll let you know. I usually do schedule commentaries a week before they happen, so you'll be well in advance if I do commentate on certain games. As the next commentary, as you can see, they're coming along the screen at the moment at the bottom. With next game is Chelsea women at Stamford Bridge taking on Barcelona in the second leg of their Champions League semi-final, where they lead at the moment by 1-0. And then on Monday night, we're back in the Championship covering Preston Leicester, where if Leicester win, they are back into the Premier League. As Jason Steele plays it down the right-hand side here to Lewis Dunk, then finds Veltman. Steele came far out of his area there. They had to get that right because Steele was backtracking quickly towards his own goal, but they were able to keep it there, Brighton, and survive any kind of embarrassment. As Baleba lifts it out to the left here, brought down by Gross, and then into the left back of Valentin Barco, brought in from Boca Juniors in January. Manchester City were once of interest of the young Argentine, but decided to make the switch towards the south instead. Brighton still in their own half here, with Jakob Murder on the ball. It's now with the Dutchman Van Hekke making his 22nd start in a row in the Premier League. Brighton's number 29. A really progressive season for the 23-year-old. Still yet to score for Brighton as he plays a ball forward, picked up on halfway by Akanji. Immediately plays it forward to Rodri, then down the line for Bernardo Silva. Tries the back heel to De Bruyne, cut out by Van Hekke on the edge of the box. And then back to Steele it goes. We will go to the left centre half here at the moment, which is Van Hekke. Back into Steele again. Alvarez in front of him. Steele turns away from him and plays it to the left to Van Hekke. Got to admire Brighton's bravery here as it's Murder forward to Gross. Lays it off to Lallana. 1-2 with Gross, and the pass is just too far in front of Lallana. Ball rolls out for a throw in for Brighton, just inside the Seagulls half with Walker. On the far side, he throws it into his own half here to bring in Manuel Akanji into the game, who was sent off in the reverse fixture at the Etihad, the Swiss international. It's his only red card for City in his previous 89 games for them. No huge chances yet. We've had the Welbeck strike towards goal around 2 minutes in, but comfortable save for Edison. It wasn't an amazing opportunity. If you are new, if you could like, subscribe, that would be absolutely fantastic. If you want to become a member, you can do next to the subscribe button. If you're on a computer, weekly members podcast coming tomorrow. We'll be talking about the title race and the running for the 3 teams still in it, or you could say 2, as Liverpool have made it very hard for themselves to be in the title race after their defeat last night at City. In the Brighton final third here, the tempo's pretty slow as Alvarez just goes back here to the number 8 of Mateo Kovacic. It's now just in front of the halfway line with Nathan Ake. Back out to the left-hand side to Gavardio. No real option in front of him, so has to go back here again now to Nathan Ake, who came on as a late sub against Brighton in that reverse fixture at the Etihad. It's now with Akanji, inside his own half. Goes to the far side here to Walker, being closed down by Barco. Walker back to Akanji. And then to Edison, who's got 3 golden gloves in the Premier League. All came in a row. Didn't have a great season last season for clean sheets. Edison, just the 11 he made in the 35 games he played. Only conceding the 32 goals, though, as he's still on the ball here in the 18-yard box. The former Benfica goalkeeper, as Manchester City have won 6 of their last 7 away games in the league. The one game in that run of 7 where they didn't win was away at Anfield, where they drew 1-1. The only other draw they've had away from home was the 4-4 draw in mid-November to Chelsea. City still have it. Kovacic goes to Edison. We know how much Manchester City like to keep the ball. Don't want to give it away unnecessarily. They like to keep it, even if it's just playing the simple pass or what could be seen as a bit of a boring pass. But it's what wins them games. You know, Manchester City have had 2 games this season where they've had 80% possession or more. Against Huddersfield in the FA Cup, they had 84% of the ball. And against Sheffield United at home in the Premier League, they had 80% of the ball. I know obviously they're against 2 very lesser oppositions, but still, to have that much of the ball in a game, it is crazy. And it's just how hard they make it for the opposition. But City haven't been beaten in the league for a while. Their last defeat was away at Aston Villa at the start of December. And they were 25 games unbeaten in all competitions, Manchester City, before that shootout defeat to Real Madrid. City still having it here in their own half, just knocking it around. Still with Edison at the moment, with it outside the 18-yard box. Just goes 5 yards to his left here to Ake, who once again missed the games against Real Madrid, the Dutchman, unfortunately. Missed the Champions League semi-final against Madrid last year through injury, Ake, as they go long to Walker, chests it down, goes backwards to Bernardo Silva, kicked away from him by Gross, but only as far as Akanji, who will beat Pedro to it, and it goes back to Edison. That was an almost chance for Brighton. Not the greatest of passes for Manchester City, and they almost gave it away. But no real opening so far for the team who are currently third at the start of tonight, but with those 2 games in hand, they can progress up the table as Edison goes long again, headed down by Murder in a central area, and Veltman kicks it off the face of Alvarez, and that'll be a throw-in for Brighton on the near side towards their defensive third here. As it's in the 6-yard box here with Jason Steele, the 33-year-old, turns 34 in August. Also played the reverse fixture for Jason Steele at the Etihad Stadium, where Brighton lost by 2 goals to 1, sorry. It was 2 quite early goals, one from Alvarez in the 7th minute and then one from Haaland in the 19th. They did get one back, Brighton, through Ansu Fati in the 73rd, but it wasn't enough for Brighton to mount the full comeback. Brighton start at edge of the box. Pascal Gross goes to the right-back position here of Van Hecke, then forward a little bit to the actual right-back of Veltman. Ball to the left to Gross. Welbeck, heavy touch, loses out to Kovacic. Rodri shifts it to Foden. Quickly to De Bruyne, runs into Baleba. And that's seen as a foul by the referee for tonight. The 37-year-old of Jared Gillett. I think that's a little bit harsh, maybe, on Carlos Baleba. Kovacic won it. Rodri found Foden. Foden to De Bruyne. Yeah, actually, Baleba has just ran into De Bruyne. It's not De Bruyne who's ran into him. Baleba definitely just ran straight into the Belgian of Kevin De Bruyne, who's got a couple of goals against Brighton previously. Twice he scored against them, both at home. He's never scored here at the Amex. Kevin De Bruyne, who turns 33 in late June. Recently hit 100 goals for Manchester City at Selhurst Park in that 4-2 away win at Crystal Palace. And he'll be the one to deliver it here. From the left-hand side, Foden has also stood over it as the left-footed option. Yeah, De Bruyne will run over it. Foden will deliver it. It's an inviting ball to Ake, who diverts it over the crossbar. About 6 yards out there, Ake. He was stretching for it on his weaker right foot. But it's the first half opening that Manchester City have had. It's a perfectly timed run from Ake. In between 2 Brighton players. He's well onside. But he's just stretching for it on his weaker foot there. Ake couldn't keep it down. Over the crossbar, goal kick for the home side. Still got some massive games to play, Brighton. They've got Aston Villa at home. They've got Manchester United at home as well, with a travelling trip to Newcastle as well. So Brighton's season is definitely not over yet in terms of difficult games. This is just the beginning, really. And obviously, this is the hardest you can get. There's Gvardiol kicks it out of touch. Brighton are throwing midway inside their own half here on the near side for Joel Veltman. He was never beaten Manchester City when playing on the pitch, Joel Veltman. It's been on the bench against Manchester City twice in the Champions League for Ajax in the 2012-2013 season. Didn't come off the bench for Ajax those 2 games, but shows how long Joel Veltman's been around, the 32-year-old. As Brighton make a crossfield ball out wide to the left-hand side. Couldn't be kept in there by Valentin Barco, Brighton's new number 19. Yeah, just went out of touch there. And he's City back on the ball on the halfway line here with Ake across the right centre half here of Akanji. Here's Rodri. 68 game unbeaten run now for Rodri. I had a look into the rules and the regulations of that loss to Real Madrid, and because it wasn't a loss in normal time, it technically doesn't count as a defeat on his record. So he is still unbeaten, Rodri, technically. 68 games now. He last lost a game in regulation time. That was against Scotland for Spain back on the 28th of March 2023. So long ago without a defeat. It is just an unbelievable record as Rodri slips through Walker on the far side, crosses into the 18-yard box, header from De Bruyne, and that is brilliant. I don't think he scores many with his head, but that puts Manchester City ahead. I don't think he can quite believe it himself. The majority of the Manchester City players who are celebrating with him are laughing in disbelief that he's just scored with his head there, Kevin De Bruyne. Ball was played out to the far side by Foden as Walker was in space, played it through Pedro and Barco, and then Walker in the final third just lifted the ball in to De Bruyne, who 12 yards out throws himself at the ball. And it's such a well-guided header. He means it completely. It's not a hopeful header. He gets down low, dives onto it, heads it towards that top right corner. It goes over Jason Steele into the back of the net. And it's that man again scoring for Manchester City. It's Kevin De Bruyne on the score sheet. It's his first ever goal here at the Amex away at Brighton. And after 17 and a half minutes, it's Brighton 0, Manchester City 1. That is special. What a goal with the head from Kevin De Bruyne. It's his fourth of the season in the Premier League for De Bruyne. Scored twice against Crystal Palace in their most recent Premier League away trip. And he's on the score sheet again. Here's Brighton have it towards the corner flag. João Pedro on the byline, kicks it off Akanji. Corner on the far side for Brighton, who have not really done much going forward in the opening 18 minutes. They had a shot on target from Welbeck early on, but it was a comfortable save for Ederson in the end. So chance for Brighton to fight back as quickly as possible. Barco floats it for Dunk, who heads towards goal. Straight to Ederson. Big chance for the captain there, Dunk, as City look to counter-attack it. Ball went in. Dunk won the header on Bernardo Silva. Seems like a bit of a mismatch there towards the back post, but it was a comfortable save for Ederson in the end, once again. As Manchester City have settled possession inside their own half here with Manuel Akanji. Assist number 35, that for Kyle Walker in the Premier League. As City are away. Kovacic out to the right to Alvarez, who's in the box here. On the angle, he goes for the shot, and it just goes past the post. He's hit that hard, Julian Alvarez, but not quite able to work it on target. Foden received it on the halfway line, played it right to De Bruyne. Ball back inside to Kovacic, who fired it to his right to Alvarez. Through on goal. The angle was against him. He went for the shot, but wide it went for Alvarez. As mentioned before, not scored in the Premier League since the end of January, where he scored twice against Burnley. Steele goes long for Brighton up towards Welbeck, who can touch it down towards the near side. He keeps it in, going back to Veltman, who has to go back to Van Hecker, who's just in front of his 18-yard box. Even though they've had to go backwards, it was well kept there by Welbeck, because his touch did just get away from him slightly. As it's in the middle of the park with Baleba. Great touch away from Kovacic. That's brilliant. Baleba beyond the halfway line, bringing the ball forward. Options left and right. Tries to go to the left, but then it deflects back to him. And then off Ake, and then City have it back. Probably should have gone to the right there, Baleba, but instead tried to go to the left. And it just got away from him in the end as Brighton have it back as De Bruyne ran into traffic in the centre circle. Apologises for the loss of the ball there, Kevin De Bruyne. Goal number 102 now for Manchester City for Kevin De Bruyne. Scored 10 last season. He's on 6 now this season, but of course missed a big chunk of the season injured. Kevin De Bruyne with that hamstring injury from August through to December. As in a right-back position here for Brighton, it's Pascal Gross on the ball. Never scored against Manchester City in his previous 11 appearances against them for the German, who's Van Hecker gives it away to Bernardo Silva. And City back on the ball, midway inside the Brighton half. The Seagulls have already got plenty of bodies back. City go into the centre circle here with Kovacic, and it's City who are back on the ball, quite relaxed here with it. As it's Rodri to turn forward. He's got Walker out to the right. Walker's on the ball now. Assist maker for the goal for Manchester City, their captain, as Rodri's got it back, switches it out to the left there to Gvardiol, brings it down nicely. Not many options for the Croatian, So he's forced to go back here to Ake. And then into Gvardiol again at left back. Brought in the summer Gvardiol for £77 million. Quite the price tag, but he really started to perform consistently in 2024. Josko Gvardiol. City have been forced back into the road 18-yard box here. Good pressing from Brighton. Not necessarily winning the ball back straight away, but they're forcing Manchester City to go backwards, which means if they do eventually win it, it's high up the pitch. Ederson lifts it into the midfield into essential area for Kovacic, brings it down nicely, 1-2 with De Bruyne, then relays it into De Bruyne a second time. Really good play from City. De Bruyne bursting away. He's got options out to the left. That's the obvious option, but he'll go alone instead. And on the edge of the box, it's blocked by Van Hecke. And it's a corner for Manchester City. It's such devastating running from De Bruyne. Once he gets going, it's just so hard to stop him. Obviously not in the same build, but what he reminds me of, when he runs like that, it reminds me of Yaya Toure when he was at Manchester City. You felt like once Yaya Toure went, no one was stopping him. And that's the same with De Bruyne. When he gets it, you just feel like he's just going to keep going until he either plays the pass or he takes the shot on. Such a good ball carrier. And he's got his side of corner here. In swinger from Foden, headed away by Van Hecke. Drops to Alvarez on the edge of the box who can control and he can shoot. And it goes wide of the post. And it's a goal kick for Brighton. 23 minutes in, Brighton 0, Manchester City 1. Kevin De Bruyne with the goal, with the headed goal as well. Not something you usually put together. Heading and Kevin De Bruyne. He was rather surprised himself it came off, but it's a fantastic header. Looping it over Steele, who is full stretch to it. And plenty of laughter and smiling going on during the celebrations with just the mere disbelief that De Bruyne has headed the ball into the back of the net. But City will be absolutely delighted with it as Brighton give it away with their left back Barco looking for Lallana in the midfield. It's now on the halfway line with number 6, Nathan Ake. Foden bringing it forward into the box. He goes, brought down on the edge. Free kick given by the referee, Jared Gillett. Let's have a look here. Foden received it. Murder had a nibble at him. And it was a bit of a slip, actually, in the end, from Foden. He was definitely kicked at by Murder. But unless there was a slight bit of contact, it looked like Foden just slipped. Well, a bit of a pull of the shirt by Dunk, possibly. That's probably why it was given. And Foden, quite recently, scored a free kick himself against Aston Villa, where he scored his 3rd career hat-trick, his 2nd of this season. Foden has already got 9 more goals this season than he did in the entirety of last season. It's more suited for a left footer, but of course De Bruyne is also stood over it as well. Assessing the option of a right-footed taker. So, who will it be? It's not a bad selection of takers to have. Foden or De Bruyne. Foden hasn't featured in any of the last 2 Premier League games because he's been more utilised in the cup competitions against Real Madrid and Chelsea, but he's got his chance to score here. Foden to shoot, it deflects in. Foden again from a free kick, scores for Manchester City. They double their lead at the Amex. They put themselves into 2nd place, above Liverpool. They will be 1 point off Arsenal with a game in hand. And they're making this look very easy on this Thursday night down south. Of course, there's an element of fortune to it. Foden went towards the keeper's side. It comes off the back of Pascal Gross. And it went beyond Jason Steele, who was diving towards the far corner. It's just gone away from his trailing legs into the back of the net. Brighton 0, Manchester City 2. Phil Foden on the score sheet again. And that is a way to score your 50th Premier League goal. What a landmark to hit for Manchester City's number 47. And they lead 2-0 here at the Amex. Probably not the best free kick Phil Foden's ever taken. It wasn't amazing. If it Hadn't have took the deflection, it probably would have been saved by Steele, but it took a deflection, it hit the back of the net, and City lead 2-0. Phil Foden now has 10 more goals this season than he did in the whole of last season in all competitions. And, this isn't an easy place to come to. Brighton have only lost twice here in the Premier League this season. Manchester City drew here last season in the middle of May, near the end of the season, in game week 37. Foden giving them the lead in that one before that equaliser from Enciso, all in the first half. City down the left-hand side here. Gavardio looking for Alvarez in the final third. Dunk will get there first. Goes to his goalkeeper, Steele. Takes a touch and then plays it out to the left to Valentin Barco at left-back. You will find Murder in a central midfield position. Goes out to the left to Welbeck. Short pass cut out by Walker. It's now with Rodri on halfway. Forward to Kovacic. Then on once more to Alvarez. Lays it off for Foden. Turns away from Baleba, but turns into Gross instead. And then Barco is then tripped by Foden in the left-back position. And that'll be a free kick for Brighton. And if they fail to win tonight, Brighton, which is looking very likely now, it'll be just one win in 8 in the Premier League. And that win was a 1-0 home win against Forest on the 10th of March, which was a 1-0 win via an own goal from Omar Bamadeli for Nottingham Forest. So it's really not in great form at the moment, Brighton. They haven't won any of their last 4 games, the Seagulls. City have it in their own half here. Central area, Foden going back here to Rodri. Then to the left to Ake. Once more to the left back now of Gavardio. Time on the ball. Goes back to Ake in the 18-yard box for Manchester City. It's now Bernardo Silva, who's playing a right centre-back position here. I know he's very versatile, and he's playing there because he can pick out passes like that. De Bruyne is set away on the right-hand side. Can't quite beat Barco to it. So Brighton have it back with their goalkeeper, who goes to the right centre half here. Dunk just gets away from him, his touch, but he can just not shift it to Veltman. And then Veltman also gets the ball stuck under his feet, and then eventually Alvarez can take the ball. And it's now with City again, midway side the Brighton half here, as Rodri goes across to Walker. Lays it off for Akanji. Now Rodri in the centre circle, keeping the ball away from the pressing Welbeck. Kovacic. Back it goes to Bernardo Silva. Foden on halfway on the left wing. To his right to Bernardo Silva. It's now with De Bruyne, who does like to pick up these little wide areas every now and then. But it's back now with Nathan Ake in the Manchester City half. As this would put Manchester City on 76 points. They collected 89 last season. So they can beat that tally if they win all of their remaining games this season. They can finish on 91 this season. There's Kovacic, 25 yards out, goes to his right here to the edge of the area to Alvarez. He's back to goal, turns out to the right-hand side to lay it off to Kyle Walker, who'll drill it across. And Foden can't quite touch it home into the hands of Steele. Kyle Walker looking for a second assist of the night. Didn't quite materialise that for Manchester City, but just so relentless. They're just such a good team. Everyone knows it, but to see it and take it in, there's such a brilliant football inside Manchester City. Van Hecker sent it down the right-hand side. It's a long ball forward to Veltman to chase it, pulled back by Gavardio. Not seen as enough as a foul, and I almost agree. Don't get me wrong, there was a little bit of a pull from Gavardio, but nothing to stop Veltman from running like he did. And he's just cheaply giving it back there to Manchester City, as they've got it inside their own half here, just in front of the centre circle, just behind the centre circle, in the City half for Rodri. Out to the right-hand side to Walker, who's playing nice and high on that right-hand side, offering Manchester City their width in the team. And for Brighton, it's not looking great if you look at statistics. Brighton have failed to score in all of their last 3 Premier League midweek games in 2024, drawing 0-0 twice with West Ham and Brentford, then losing 4-0 away at Luton. So not usually liking their Premier League midweek fixtures this year, Brighton, at the moment. City have got it in their own half. Just relaxed on the ball here with Manuel Akanji, who spent 4.5 seasons in the Bundesliga before making the switch for £15 million last season to Manchester City from Borussia Dortmund, as Gvardiol sloppy in possession. Can't find De Bruyne. Gross can't quite find his strikers of Lallana. And it's now with Kovacic forward to De Bruyne, furthest forward for City. He has got Alvarez making a run out to the left, and he'll find him into the space now. Alvarez in the final third, just outside the 18-yard box for now. And now he enters it. Goes back to Kovacic, slows it down, and it's back to walking pace for Manchester City. You know, that's what they do, Manchester City. If the opportunity isn't there, they restart, no matter what position they're in. And it's like there, Alvarez in the box on the left-hand side. Ended up going backwards. You know, a lot of players would just get the ball and run at the defender, but you know, Manchester City are different, and they're rightly different because they do it the right way, clearly, with the amount of games that they do win. As it's Brighton on the edge of the 18-yard box. Van Hecker to the left-back, Barco finds Murder. He goes to the goalkeeper of Steele in the 6-yard box. Forward to Barco, can take it on the turn, and goes back to Steele again. Alvarez closing down, and Steele goes forward to Baleba, who lays it off to Barco. And then Bernardo Silva nicks it. Foden shoots it. And Manchester City have a third. Brighton were asking for that. Overplaying at the back in their own 18-yard box. And when you're doing it against Manchester City, you will be punished. They have been punished. And Manchester City have a third. Foden with his second. And that is a gift that Brighton have handed to the visitors on a plate. And Manchester City do not miss chances like that. Steele with the ball. He went forward to Baleba, went to his left to Barco, who took touch, took a second, then tried to play the pass straight to Bernardo Silva. As it came off Manchester City's number 20, it fell straight into the path of Phil Foden, who in the box on the right-hand side just opened up the body with his left foot, curled it to the far corner. No chance for Steele. And Brighton are simply not helping themselves tonight, giving that to Manchester City, taking nothing away from Phil Foden there. It's a brilliant finish. And after 34 minutes of play at the Amex, it's Brighton 0, Manchester City 3. Completely overplaying it there, Brighton. At some point, when you're playing against Manchester City, you're already 2-0 down. I know everyone's got a style of play, and a lot of managers are very stubborn when it comes to changing their style of play. But at times, you've just got to get rid. Get it gone, push up the pitch, try and win it back in a different area. There's no point keeping it on the edge of the 18-yard box and then in your 18-yard box when you've got nowhere to go. When they were playing out then, it never looked like they knew where to go next to get the ball advanced forward. It was always just going to stay in the 18-yard box. They didn't get rid. Bernardo Silva got himself in the way of the Barco pass. And then it bounced to Foden, who finished. And Phil Foden's record against Brighton is something special. Phil Foden has played Brighton 10 times now, including tonight. That's his 8th goal against them. 8 in 10 against Brighton. That is a brilliant record for Phil Foden, as all of the 8 goals he scored against them have now come in his last 8 games against them. You know, some players just have certain teams where they rarely perform against them, and obviously for Phil Foden, he does like a game against Brighton. And that is no different tonight. So City have 3. Of course, they will be having 3 points added to their tally at the end of tonight, if it isn't for a miraculous Brighton comeback, as they are trying to start an attack here. Right wing position with João Pedro, running at Ake, gets into the box, crosses with the left foot, goes all the way through to the far side here to Barco, who's got time to shoot, comes off the shoulder of Walker, deflects back to Barco, who will deliver it again. That time it deflects off Bernardo Silva, and we'll have a Brighton corner on the far side. Making his first start for the club, Valentin Barco, the 19-year-old Argentine left-back.
who can play as a winger. So in terms of getting forward from left back, he does make good attacking runs, and he was found there by João Pedro. Not sure if it was a purposeful ball to Barco from Pedro, but it found its way to the Argentine, who will deliver an outswinging cross here for the home side, who need to try and get back in this game as quickly as possible. Ball goes in, headed on by De Bruyne towards Dunk, who heads it out to the edge of the box towards Baleba, dealt with by Foden. Gross lets it bounce to Alvarez, and Alvarez goes to the right to De Bruyne, who has to hold it up, and De Bruyne does, and he goes back to Ederson, relaxes the play, and City can restart from their goalkeeper. Counter-attack was almost on, but the ball to De Bruyne by Alvarez just went behind the Belgian. If it was in front of him, that counter was on. Foden was already making a run forward, but they've had to just restart. But Manchester City do not mind at all when they have to restart, as De Bruyne gives the ball away, just away from Akanji, and it's a throw-in in the final third for Brighton. Sorry about that. In a left wing position. A very unusual misplaced pass there from Kevin De Bruyne. As it's Brighton now on the near side, on the halfway line, as Welbeck goes back to Veltman, who I believe was booked before for kicking the ball away as he fouled Foden just a couple of minutes ago. And he's now midway inside the City half here, Veltman on the ball. Goes down the line to Welbeck. He is onside. He holds it up. Lallana's making a run through. Welbeck decides to go backwards instead to Van Hecke. Then across into the middle of the park here to Murder. Goes to his right to Gross. Back to Van Hecke. Squares it to Dunk here. City will now press aggressively. Dunk on the ball. Back to the right centre half of Van Hecke. Forward for Welbeck, and he's on offside. Really good line there from Manchester City. Darren Can with the flag up there on the near side on Danny Welbeck, formerly of Manchester United. Just has the one goal against Manchester City in his previous 22 against them. Danny Welbeck, that came in the FA Cup back in the 2011-2012 season, when Manchester City famously won the Premier League that season against Manchester United with that Aguero goal, as Kovacic has been set away here in the Brighton half. Shrugs off Veltman, plays it to the right to De Bruyne. He goes to the right once more here to Bernardo Silva. It's now into Rodri, the glue in the Manchester City team. Foden out to this near side here to Gvardiol. Plenty of time on the ball here for the number 24. Returns it to Foden. Then back out to Gvardiol in the final third. Scored a couple of beauties recently. Gvardiol, as his pass is deflected, but it does reach Foden. So Manchester City keep it. Still in the Brighton half. Foden has it. Being forced to go backwards by Baleba, but has to turn him instead. Foden will just keep possession. Goes to left back Gvardiol. Forward to Rodri. Turns beautifully with the touch. And then Rodri feeds it out to the right to Bernardo Silva. He's got Walker as the option, and he'll find Kyle Walker in the final third. Doesn't want to run at Barco. He'll go back to Rodri. He then goes back himself there to Akanji. Across to Ake, just inside the centre circle. Now Gvardiol. 5 minutes until the break. Manchester City lead by 3-0 here. It's on the halfway line with Nathan Ake. Hadn't played any minutes in the last 5 games, Nathan Ake, before returning in the semi-final of the FA Cup against Chelsea, as he was injured in that game against Arsenal at the end of March. City have given it away there, looking for De Bruyne. It's now with the left-back Barco, just behind the halfway line here for Brighton. Finds Van Hecke. Now to Dunk. To the right back of Veltman, 10 yards inside the Manchester City half. Forced to go back here to Lewis Dunk, who's lost every single game he's played against Manchester City. As he goes long and over the top for João Pedro. Ederson's off his line out of his box to clear that away. Thumping it long, chested down by Dunk. So Brighton will keep possession. And it's in the centre circle here with Lallana. Through towards Welbeck, who tried to play the pass through, but Welbeck hadn't made the run. And it goes all the way through into the City defensive third here, as Gvardiol will leave it for Ederson to take over. Again, just another almost moment for Brighton. Before that home loss, for Brighton against Arsenal, they were 12 unbeaten at home in the league. They're really strong here usually in terms of not being able to be beaten. They have suffered a lot of draws against teams you wouldn't expect them to draw against as well. They've drawn against the likes of Everton, Burnley, Sheffield United, Fulham as well. Fulham have been pretty horrid on their travels this season as Foden played through, tackled by Veltman on the edge of the box fairly, and it's now back to the goalkeeper of Steel, who gets onto his left foot, plays it short to Murder, then out to the right it goes to Pascal Gross, who's in a right back position at the moment. Finds Dunk in the 18-yard box, loads of time on the ball as he goes across here to Van Hecker. Forward for Murder, turns, gets it forward to Pedro, controls it, can't flick the ball onto Lallana, dealt with by Rodri, and it's back to Edison. Now Rodri back on the ball in the centre circle. Rodri's only lost 19 times in the Premier League. This is his 159th appearance. He made appearance number 250 for City at the weekend against Chelsea. Rodri, still just 27. He's got so long left to play. It's absolutely incredible. He's an absolute machine, Rodri. That is for sure. He was on the bench for City in their last Premier League game against Luton, where they won 5-0. 4 different scorers for City. One was an own goal, but then Kovacic scored, Doku scored. Yeah, Kovacic, Haaland, Doku, Gvardiol on the score sheet again. City have got it in their own half here. De Bruyne going out to the left to Gvardiol. Tries to go in behind here for Alvarez. He will chase it. It'll be Steele to have to volley that away on the edge of his 18-yard box, and out of play goes for a Manchester City throw-in on the halfway line on the near side in front of the 2 technical areas. As for Pep Guardiola, this is game 299 for him in the Premier League. This will be win 220. Only lost 38 times as a manager in the Premier League, Pep Guardiola. And for Pep, his only game here at the Amex against De Zerbi was that 1-1 draw last season. He has won the 2 against the Italian at the Etihad. He's in the centre circle. Alvarez collects it. Too much time on the ball for him. Goes to the right to Foden. Walker's away down the line. He finds Walker, who holds it up. Goes back inside to Alvarez, about 35 yards away from goal. It's now De Bruyne in the central area. Finds Kovacic towards this left-hand side now for Gvardiol. Goes into the centre circle to Ake. It's now Akanji. Bernardo Silva, far side. So much space to run into for him. João Pedro eventually gets back and slows him down. Has to go back to Rodri. Akanji inside to Foden. Out to the right to De Bruyne. It's just fantastic football. De Bruyne in the box. Wanting to shoot. Will shoot. And it deflects out for a corner. Just couldn't quite make his mind up there, De Bruyne, when to pull the trigger. And eventually when it did, the chance was pretty much gone. But collected the ball about 25 yards from goal. Drove himself into the box. Did get the shots away eventually. But like I say, deflected out for a corner as we're nearing the end of this first half, which will be what Brighton want. They want this first half to come to an end. Crossed in swinger, far post, headed on by Dunk, straight to Alvarez, time to shape up for the shot, which is blocked by Murder, straight out to Kyle Walker, lays it off to his right to De Bruyne, who will cross the ball back in. It's a deeper one, it will reach Rodri, who will keep it in front of the corner flag on the near side, and he finds Alvarez on the edge again. 1-on-1 with Veltman. Alvarez switches out to the right here to De Bruyne. We've hit the 45th minute of play here at the Amex. 3 minutes will be added on. De Bruyne, just in front of the halfway line for Manchester City. It's now with the furthest man back for the Blues. That's Kyle Walker, making his 295th appearance tonight. For Manchester City, starting his 40th game of the season as well in all competitions, Kyle Walker, at the age of 33, turns 34 at the end of next month. So City on the ball, calmly, down the right-hand side here with Bernardo Silva, through for Walker. This is where they turn up the pace. Walker running at Barco, holding it up in the final third, then go back to Bernardo Silva to keep possession. Foden takes over. Another brace for him tonight, scoring the last 2 Manchester City goals. So we've got 2 minutes left of this first half to play. I've added on time. The 4th official, Graham Scott, indicated 3 minutes. And it's with Manuel Akanji into De Bruyne in the centre circle, keeping it nice and simple to the left to Kovacic. Forward to Alvarez. Back it goes into Kovacic. De Bruyne to Kovacic again. Now into Bernardo Silva in the centre circle as he drifts in from that right wing into a more central position. Rodri is now with Foden, who receives it from Akanji. Foden running away from Baleba, laying it off for Gvardiol. We're still in the Manchester City half as it stands. In the left centre-back position with Nathan Ake. Taking his time to find the right pass. Don't want to give anything away, Manchester City, at the end of this first half, where they are currently leading by 3-0. There's ball in behind, looking for Walker. It's an adventurous one. Reaches Steele instead, who comes well out of his area to cut that ball out. So Brighton have the ball with 1 minute left to play this first half as they go long themselves looking for João Pedro, but the header's won by Akanji, who about 20 yards from goal can head it back to his goalkeeper of Ederson. And it's Manchester City will look to try and see out this first half with that 3-goal lead. Got some nicer fixtures, you must say, on paper, Manchester City. Forest away at the weekend. Wolves at home, Fulham away. The only challenging game left, really, Spurs away, as Foden is away himself on the left-hand side. He goes across towards Alvarez. Murder in a centre-back position, has to slide in and clear the ball for a corner. Manchester City getting in behind once again. Pep isn't happy about something, but it was Gvardiol. Just played the ball around the corner. Foden, I think, just in his own half. That's what kept him onside. And Alvarez was 3 in the box. And Foden's gone to find him, in fairness. But couldn't quite find the World Cup winner. But I think... I'm not sure what's been given there. An offside? Not sure for who. I didn't quite see. I don't know if there was an offside. I don't know why that offside was given, because I didn't think Foden was offside. But anyway, nonetheless, City lead at half-time. Jared Gillett, the referee, blows the whistle. And after 48 minutes in this first half, it is Manchester City who have displayed utter dominance. The first goal was scored by Kevin De Bruyne in the 17th minute. A header, a diving header from the Belgian. Doesn't score many of them, but now he's on 102 goals for Manchester City. And for Phil Foden, he's added 2 more goals to his tally. He's now on 16 in the Premier League, 24 in all competitions. And the first came from a free kick just outside the box to the right-hand side. He shot towards the goalkeeper's side. Without the deflection off Gross, it probably would have been saved by the goalkeeper, but the deflection sent it beyond the outstretched legs of the Brighton goalkeeper of Jason Steele and into the back of the net. And just 8 minutes later, 10 minutes before the break, Phil Foden had a third. It was a mistake from Brighton, trying to play out from the back, being way too intricate, way too risky. The pass in the 18-yard box was given away by Barco. It came off Bernardo Silva, straight to Phil Foden, who had a simple finish, caressing it into that bottom left corner. It was a bit too easy, that one, for Manchester City, but they deserved it. They pressed well, pressed high, forced Brighton into the mistake. It gave them their third, and here at the Amex at half-time, it is Brighton 0. Manchester City 3. And if there was any doubt that Manchester City were going to slip up tonight, they erased that pretty quickly. Brighton had the first shot of the game. It was an early shot, about 2 minutes in from Welbeck, but it was a simple save for Ederson. It wasn't anything difficult. In all honesty, that's all they've really done so far. They had a decent header from Dunk at one point, but again, straight at Ederson. So they've not really done anything to test Ederson so far, Brighton. And then for Manchester City, when they've not had the ball, their pressing has been sublime. When they've had the ball, the way they've kept it, the way they've opened up Brighton has just been magnificent to watch. And for me, they very much do deserve this 3-goal lead. As for Brighton, they're in 10th at the moment, I believe. Now, they've dropped down to 11th because Bournemouth won last night away at Wolves. So Brighton do drop into the bottom half of the table. It is still very congested in that area from 7th to 12th. From Wolves in 12th, it's 43 points to Newcastle. In 7th, it's 50. So a 7-point gap. But it does seem like for Brighton, European football next season is looking less and less likely. The more games that they play, the more games they go without a win. You know, tonight they'll probably lose. That means it'll just be 1 win in 8 for them in the Premier League. It's just not quite happening at the moment for Brighton, and deserve it. I think at times the style of play, when I watch them play, it just seems they don't quite have the players to play the De Zerbi system as effectively as he would like. And that's no disrespect to the Brighton players, because they've got a very strong squad, but it just seems like their style of play is just too advanced, where what they're trying to do just becomes a bit boring, because sometimes they do it a bit too slow, and then it just becomes a matter of them just passing it around, looking for an opening that never comes, because they can never quite make the right run, or they can never time the right pass. So again, no disrespect to Brighton, but and anything like that, but their style of play can sometimes really be their own downfall. Like, obviously when it works, it's nice to watch Brighton's play. I like watching De Zerbi's teams, but sometimes when they don't get it right, it can just become a bit of it just looks like slow possession build-up play, which isn't what Brighton need. It needs to just be a bit quicker. And then when you play in a team like Manchester City, when you won't have the ball for a lot of the game, when your usual play is having the ball, and then when you play a game where you don't have the ball, I feel like it's hard for Brighton to go from their possession style to counter-attacking style. They're just not used to that switch. They don't counter-attack a lot. So in games like this, when they've tried to counter, it's just all been a bit messy. No real runs are being made, and when runs are trying to be found, runs are half being made, and they're stopping, and it's all getting lost in translation. And yeah, it's just not been the game for Brighton tonight. They've struggled a lot, and they have been battered so far, if we're going to be completely honest about it. It's been brilliant from Manchester City. Just another reminder, you don't have to, but if you want to become a member, a Star Player member, it is £5 for the month, and you get a weekly podcast. And the first weekly podcast for the members only will be dropping tomorrow. I presume they stay on the channel for members for all time. So whenever you do become a member, there'll be a huge, hopefully, backlog of podcasts. We got our first member at the weekend, which is amazing. We've had a massive donation tonight, which I could not be more thankful for. So with the fact we've got one member, that means the podcast will come. The only reason I wasn't doing the member podcasts is because we didn't have any members, obviously. But now we've got a member, even though it's only one, now we've got a member. They'll be getting the rewards for becoming a member. So the first members weekly podcast will be out tomorrow. They'll be about 20 minutes, 30 minutes long. They could be longer sometimes, but they won't be any shorter than 20, 30 minutes. And I'll be recording that tonight. It'll be posted tomorrow. And we'll be talking about the title race, the running. We'll be covering Manchester City and Arsenal. And we'll also involve Liverpool, even though for Liverpool, they're almost out of it. It's going to be very hard for them to really win the league at the moment with that defeat last night. But we'll cover Liverpool, what games they've got. We'll also talk about Liverpool's future as well, a little bit, how Jurgen Klopp's leaving, how they're looking at the final manager of Arne Slot. But mainly we'll be focusing on Arsenal and Manchester City's run-ins, how it could play out, what we think will happen. I'll make a prediction, who will finish where, who will finish first, second, third. So it'll be a nice little analytic look into the title running. So it's definitely worth it. And we'll be doing podcasts every week. And we'll probably look to upload them every Friday. So again, it is a £5 a month. I am not forcing anyone to become a member. You don't have to. But if you want a bit more content, and you want a bit more analytic look into football and what's happening during the weeks in football, then that podcast might be for you. And mainly, the becoming a member isn't just the added content. It's more the fact it helps me grow this channel out, and it means I can make more content for the members. I can make more content in general for the channel. So, of course, to become a member, you get perks of some stickers, you get weekly podcasts, but it will really help me take this channel to the next level, which hopefully next season we will really be able to get this channel to take off. This season we've done the building blocks to it, where we've just commentated all the time. We've now hit monetization. We've now been able to add the ability for people to become members, and now hopefully next season we can just push on, continue smashing out the commentaries, bringing extra content with the members, and just really taking this channel up to the next level. And that only happens because of everyone here who's watching. So it is appreciated, everyone who is here. And even if you don't become a member, even if you're just liking and subscribing, that also helps massively. So it is all very much appreciated, as the second half of this game will be getting underway very shortly. They were just showing, though, for the free kick that Phil Foden won and scored, there wasn't loads of contact for the free kick. He got away from the challenge of, I believe it was Murder, who was having a little nibble, or it might have been Gross, I can't quite remember. And then on the edge of the box, he looked to have slipped, but as he slipped, it's almost like Phil Foden kicked Beleba. It's a very questionable free kick, to say the least. But Manchester City won't care because they've took it and they've scored it through a rather fortunate deflection off Pascal Gross. But will Manchester City look to add to this? Will they make some changes, Manchester City? Because they do have a game on Sunday against Nottingham Forest away. So another away trip. So I'm sure that Manchester City and Pep Guardiola will be looking at that and understanding that maybe some of these players won't be able to do the full 90 tonight. You know, like say Bernardo Silva has been heavily used recently. Rodri has as well in the big games. Phil Foden as well. You know, they've been involved in the more mentally challenging games, if that makes sense. Of course, they've been playing a lot of minutes as well, but you know, the mental toll that this back end of the season will be having on some of them will be heavy. So I think if they could get some of them off for the second half, that would very much be a positive for City to get them rested up for the Sunday. Because they'll be going to Nottingham Forest, who are not a very happy bunch at the moment. Obviously, that statement at the weekend after their defeat away at Everton. So the Nottingham Forest fans will be up for that, and the players will be. Of course, you'd expect Manchester City to probably have too much quality for Forest to deal with, but Forest did nick a point off City last season, so you just never know. But it will be definitely a game that Manchester City will be looking at, and they'll be favouriting themselves to go in and take the 3 points. And as well, it'd be interesting if Brighton make any changes, because something needs to change for Brighton. On the bench, they've got plenty of players to bring on: Ansu Fati, Facundo Buonanotte, Julio Enciso, Simon Adingra. And to be fair, I would have started 3 of them. I would have started Buonanotte for Lallana. I probably would have started Enciso for Murder. I would have started Adingra, possibly for Welbeck. So, and that's surprising me because Brighton haven't played for 12 days. Brighton haven't played since the 13th of April, where they drew 1-1 away at Burnley. So obviously, but you know, of course, De Zerbi had his plan for this game, and it's it's not quite worked, unfortunately for him and his side. So that'll be something we'll look into once we get close to the start of the second half, to see what changes shall be made. But for Manchester City, it's all they can ask for, because there was definitely some questions to be asked of City in terms of course, City have done both. City have chased teams down and won the league, and City have batted teams away to win the league. But when Arsenal, you know, play 2 games before City play their next Premier League game, and obviously Arsenal have got themselves 4 clear. I know City have the games in hand, of course, which they're making the most of at the moment, but 4 points behind Arsenal, and it just puts that extra pressure to win these games in hand, and they've obviously dealt with that pressure unbelievably. It's almost like the pressure's not even there. So they've wiped that thought out of a possible maybe dip due to the fact that Arsenal have got the points on the board, but Manchester City at the moment, they're doing their job and they're getting their points on the board, and at the minute Arsenal are 1 clear at the top, but Manchester City have 1 more game in hand to play against them. And for Brighton as well, like I say, that European football places are looking a lot less harder to get to. They've got Bournemouth away at the weekend on the Sunday. That is not an easy place at all to go to. Bournemouth are having a very good season. Then they've got to host Aston Villa, who are well on the chase for Champions League football. Then they've got to go away to Newcastle, and Newcastle are doing horrific away from home. But Newcastle at home are being really good. So it's just not getting easier for Brighton. I do think those European places now are out of reach. I don't think they'll get into the top 8, which is a shame. It really is a shame. But, you know, they had their Europa League experience this season. And I don't think that helped them this season, the Europa League campaign. Don't get me wrong. I don't think the Brighton fans would change anything. They definitely would have enjoyed their European trips this season, their first ever time in Europe. But I do think the Thursday-Sunday schedule that they had near the start of the season definitely just hindered them slightly. But next season, they won't have European football, so they'll go again, hopefully. For Brighton's sake, De Zerbi stays, and they can build on the success they've had with him the last 2 seasons, and they can try and get back into the European places once again. So we're just waiting for the 2 sets of players to come back out for the second half here. The City have got a 3-goal lead, as it will be just 2 defeats for City now in 38 games in all competitions. And for Brighton under De Zerbi, that Foden first goal was their 100th conceded under their Italian head coach since he joined the club back in September of 2022. Definitely starting to leak a lot more goals this season. Brighton have now conceded the same amount of goals this season compared to last. Brighton conceded 53 last season, and they've conceded 53 now again. And we've still got another 5.5 games for Brighton to play. Brighton are going to make changes here, and they're going to bring on a youngster. I recognise that. Let's see exactly who they bring on and who they bring off. So, a yellow-carded Joel Veltman, who is at right back, will be replaced by number 42, Odell Offia, who is making his 6th ever senior appearance for Brighton. It's his first team appearance for this season. He spent the first half of the season on loan at Hearts, and he's been recalled for the second half of this season, where he's remained at Brighton. So, Odell Offia on for Brighton. And so is number 24, Simon Adingra. And Simon Adingra will be replacing, I'm not sure who he's replaced. I believe it is Adam Lallana. So Lallana and Veltman off for Offia and Adingra. So we're back underway. No changes for Manchester City. Adingra almost in behind if it wasn't for the offside flag. So City free kick just on the edge of the 18-yard box. As we're back underway, Brighton kicking right to left, City left to right towards their away support. So big call for De Zerbi to bring on Adel Offia, who they brought all the way back in 2017 from Bromley. He's now only 21 years of age. A City play out from the back. Right back, Walker on the ball. In his defensive third, tackle by Barco. He drops in the box here for Pascal Gross, who's pulled down in the area. Nothing given by the referee. Rodri tells Pascal Gross to get back up. City can attack now down the left-hand side in their own half at the moment with Phil Foden. Just keeping the ball. Going back here to Gavardio. As Foden was shoved to the ground there by Van Hecker. So City free kick. Let's have a replay of that one. Kyle Walker the one giving it away. And it fell to Gross in the box. Slight pull of the right arm by Rodri. Is it enough for a penalty? I don't know. Not for. It just seems a bit too soft. Rodri has to be careful. He's definitely got a hold of Gross's arm, but just not enough for a penalty for me, personally. As City build from the back, midway side of their own half. Kovacic bringing it forward here into the centre circle. Kovacic out to the right to De Bruyne. Walker's bombing forward. He finds Walker. He's not got many options. He has to go back to De Bruyne. He's now on the halfway line with Manuel Akanji. Kovacic in the centre circle, keeping it away from the press of Adingra. It's now with Ake, former Chelsea centre-half. Spent 6 years at Stamford Bridge. Nathan Ake, now making his 120th Manchester City appearance. Rodri to Foden on halfway. Looking out to the near side here, and he finds Walker. Tries to lay it off for De Bruyne. Goes through his legs, and out it goes on this near side for Brighton. Midway inside their own half here. There's Barco, the left back. Goes back here to number 5, Lewis Dunk, who's making his 13th start in a row in the Premier League. Brighton-born centre-back. As they go over the top and in behind for Adingra, but City's line tight. Catches the Ivorian Africa Cup of Nations winner offside. And it's another Manchester City free kick. They're showing that incident again. Pascal Gross being pulled back by Rodri. I mean, there's a hand on Pascal Gross's arm. So I understand the argument. I just don't know if the contact's enough for him to go down the way he did, personally. So City survive an early second half scare. Rodri's pass is high. Akanji can get it on the floor again to Edison, who is going to clear it on the byline here. And he goes long down the City left, looking for Alvarez, headed forward by Dunk, picked up loosely by Foden. Not a great header that from Dunk. And it's now out to this near side to Bernardo Silva, and City will slow the game down again. No need to have it at a high tempo pace as they lead the game by 3-0. Kovacic finds a brilliant ball into Foden, who's got himself in between the lines here. Foden out to the left there, goes behind Gvardiol. And it's a throw in for Brighton. Just knocked off balance there, Foden, as he released the pass, hence why it ended up going behind Gvardiol, who was starting to get forward from fullback. City have it back. Alvarez 1-2 with Kovacic. Kovacic in the box, leaves it for Foden, whose shot is stopped by Gross. And then it's Dunk out to the left back. Barco chops inside, keeps the ball away from Alvarez. It's now Gross on the ball, edge of the box. Murder tries to go across. It comes off Rodri and bounces behind for a goal kick. Again, just unnecessary with Brighton being so risky. You know, you're told as a kid not to pass it across goal. You know, there's always a time and a place to pass across goal if there's an obvious opportunity where the opposition can't take the ball. But in a position like that, you know, when there's so many City players, you know, cutting out the pass across goal, it's just stupid, really, to play it across like that. Jakob Murder, a bit of a lazy ball in the end. Brighton have got it from that goal kick, and it's Adingra who loses it. Alvarez in the left wing position here in the final third. He goes down over the challenge, and that'll be another free kick for Manchester City, left wing position. As Manchester City have this free kick. Foden and De Bruyne are over it. It's on a wide angle, so it'll have to be across it. One-man wall for Brighton. I think De Bruyne is fancying this one, but it could be Foden to take it. As the referee just wants a word here before we get this taken. Just a bit of shoving and pushing and hands on each other. As it's Foden instead to cross low towards Rodri. Touch comes off João Pedro. And it's a corner for City on the far side. Conceded by Brighton's number 9, João Pedro. Low ball, but with good pace and good whip there by Foden. And if João Pedro didn't get his foot to that, Rodri may have been able to steer it towards goal on target. But they'll take the corner instead, Manchester City. It continues their attack. As it'll be an in-swinger from Alvarez. It's a deeper one towards Rodri. Gets up, heads it across towards Akanji. Can't quite meet it. And then absolutely hoofed away by João Pedro. All the way to Ederson on the edge of the Manchester City 18-yard box. And Ederson will completely slow the game down. Allow Manchester City to set up again. Get back into their usual position. And he will eventually roll the ball out to their left centre half of Nathan Ake. Brighton not exactly pressing yet. They are high though. Try to close down the angles for the next pass as Ederson gets a free ball out to Walker. How Walker's on his own like that, I don't know, but Walker gives it away. Can't get away from Barco. Now it's with João Pedro. Running into the box. João Pedro running into Akanji, but he deflects back towards him off Rodri. And Ederson's out. Palms it away. And City can try and get it away in their right-back position with Foden. Deflects to Bernardo Silva. Then just got rid by Walker. But there's an offside flag up from the assistant referee on that far side of Neil Davies. Barco, the one finding João Pedro, and his run into the box was positive. Getting around Rodri, and then Akanji kicked it off Rodri, which then played it back through towards João Pedro. That's when Ederson was required to come out and force the ball away from João Pedro. But I don't know where the offside is from, in all honesty, but it's a free kick for City in their 18-yard box, taken to the left centre half of Ake by Ederson. And switched out by Rodri, curling ball to his near side to Walker. Heads it back to Akanji. It's a bit short, but he will get there. Akanji, and he just sends it long towards Alvarez. Kicked out a play by Dunk on halfway to keep the ball away from Alvarez. Not taking any risks there. Lewis Dunk, who's got 5 England caps now, started in the recent international break against Belgium in the 2-2 draw. It's Akanji, forward to Alvarez, chests it down on halfway, and then lays it off for Rodri. Now to the right, now to Walker. And then back to Akanji, well kept here for Manchester City. Just over 9 minutes into the second half. Foden back heel into Alvarez. Lays it off for Rodri. Sits down Baleba. And then out to the left it goes to Ake. Definitely the best team in small spaces, Manchester City. The way they keep it and knock it around. It is just so clean. And so pleasing on the eye to watch. As Rodri has it just in front of the halfway line, bringing it forward. Got one option to his left, and that's Gvardiol. He plays it to him, keeps it simple. It's now with Ake again. Runs to the halfway line. Completes a 1-2 with Bernardo Silva. And then one with Rodri as well. Before eventually finding Kovacic, who completes a 1-2 with Rodri. Out to the far side now to Gvardiol. Midway inside the City half, we are now with the ball with Ake. Brings it forward 5 yards, then lays it off to his left to Kovacic to keep the ball. Rodri, poor ball, really poor. Adingra's got it. And Adingra needs to get out of his feet. And he'll play it back to Baleba. And they have to restart, going all the way back to Dunk. Manchester City have everyone behind the ball. Bit of a chance there. Really not used to seeing Rodri give the ball away like that, but wasn't punished for it. And like I say, it doesn't happen too often with Rodri, so it's one of them you probably let him off when it happens. Adingra. Welbeck, tried to find Adingra inside for the 1-2. Couldn't find him. Last touch off Gross in the end. And that's a throw-in on halfway for Manchester City on that far side. As this will now mean it will be 18 unbeaten for Manchester City in the Premier League. No defeats in their last 7 away from home. Winning 6 of them. As Jakub Murder, so a central midfielder will be brought off here for a centre-back. Igor to come on, the Brazilian, brought in the summer from Fiorentina. So I do think Valentin Barco, who's been playing left-back, he'll be playing in more of a wing-back position now, a bit more advanced than number 19. So it'll be a back 3 here for Brighton. As it's City on the ball in their own half. Far side with Kovacic. Tries to find Bernardo Silva. Can't do so. Straight to João Pedro. Brighton on the attack. In the right wing. In the box of Adingra. Towards the byline. He can work across off Ake and win a corner. On that far side, Adingra. Running towards goal. Did come off the hand of Ake, but the hand is tucked right in. Not outstretched or anything, not stopping the ball going in the box, because if it didn't hit his hand, it would have just hit his chest. So it's going to be an out-swinging cross here from Pascal Gross. If Brighton get one back, you just never know. Cross goes in towards the far post. Dunks up for it. Van Hecke's the one to win the header. Straight in the air it goes, and it's a catch for Ederson. As the play's just going to be stopped at the moment. Dunk and Gvardiol have stayed down. Gvardiol holding his lower back at the moment. Dunk just back to his feet now, and I think Gvardiol will be the same. So no medical treatment will be required. So, back underway with Ederson on the ball after the referee was just making sure that Gvardiol and Dunk were okay. Ederson's going to go long, sending it in behind the Brighton defence where he's headed backwards by Dunk to the goalkeeper. Smart defending there by Dunk. Had to get it right though because Alvarez was on that as Van Hecke is giving it away looking for Baleba. Foden through for Alvarez on the edge of the box. He lets fly. It's spilt by Steele and he can get on the end of that ball. That was parried back out into play. Not good enough by Van Hecke. Loose ball picked up by Rodri. Foden slipped it through for Alvarez, who again just had the shot just too close to the goalkeeper. And City have won it back again. De Bruyne on the left, inside to his right to Alvarez. It's now Foden kicking it off Baleba. It deflects through, and that'll be a corner for Manchester City on this near side. Brighton giving it away again. They were showing replays actually, so I didn't see who gave it away. But that's twice in a matter of a minute where Brighton have given the ball away in their own half. And that is something you simply cannot do against Manchester City because they will punish you. And they have already once tonight given the ball away inside their own half. Short to Bernardo Silva. Back to Foden in the box on his left foot. Delivers it. Headed away by Gross. Back out to the right wing here where it's brought down by De Bruyne. Gets away from Adingra, but then tackled by Barco. Good slide challenge from the Argentine. It's now with Steele on the 6-yard box. Goes to his right centre half, Van Hecke. Helps it on towards Offia, who can keep it in. Tries to turn and clear, but he deflects on Gvardiol to Dunk, who overruns it. Gvardiol pokes it through for Alvarez in the box. He's going to go for the shots, and it's just over the bar. Looking for the top right corner there. Julian Alvarez. But just couldn't quite get it down in time. It's not a bad technique. It's not far away. It just skims the roof of the net on its way past the goal by the Argentine. 98 appearances now for Manchester City. Julian Alvarez almost coming up to a century since he joined back in January 2022, but was sent back to River Plate, so he's only been a part of City's first team since the beginning of last season. Brian goes up towards Welbeck, who controls it and sends it out to the right here to Adingra. João Pedro's offside as they play it towards him. João Pedro wants it quicker. Not really got him in the game. Brighton, João Pedro, their main man, who hasn't scored since the beginning of February in their 4-0 home win against Crystal Palace. And it's just not quite getting him into the game as much as they should be able to. That'll be frustrating João Pedro, like that incident there, where he wanted the ball quicker. Brighton have it. Flicked forward by João Pedro to Welbeck, who's coming out to this near side, playing it into the path of Barco. Then looking for the run of Welbeck again, but he never made that run. Collected by Walker. It's now with Nathan Ake at left centre-back. All three of Manchester City's defeats in the league this season have come away from home. most recently to Aston Villa at the start of December, as a long ball in behind by Edison finds Walker, who's in the box here. Walker chops in, chance here, touches heavy, puts it across. Alvarez with the shot. And finally, the Argentine scores. He's had multiple chances tonight. And eventually it goes in. Brighton complaining. They're not happy about something. But it just shows the versatility that City have with their style of play. They're so good with their short passing and beating presses. But sometimes it's best to go long. Edison sees a space down the Brighton left-hand side, down City's attacking right flank. For Walker, who we know can get onto any pass. He entered the box, got away from Barco, but his touch was quite heavy. So he had to slide in there, Walker, to keep it away from Steele, who was out of his goal. He kicked it across, finding Alvarez, who from around 10 yards out, right down the centre in the box. Just able to kick the ball into the back of the net. Steele wasn't in his goal. Dunk was on the line, but he couldn't get in the way of it. Brave from Walker to slide in to keep the ball away from Steele. And Alvarez was in the right place at the right time to score his 9th of the season in the league. It equals the same amount he got in the Premier League last season. And I think as Steele came out for it, he's claiming that he had two hands on the ball as Walker slid in himself and kicked the ball away towards Alvarez. The goal will not be chalked off. The goal will stand. And Manchester City have a 4-goal lead away here at Brighton. Like I say, you can't say Steele had two hands on the ball there, in all honesty. He definitely didn't have it collected like that. It's not like he had it in his possession, then Walker kicked it out of his hands. He was just trying to put his hands on top of the ball, but Walker came in and kicked it away. And I think for Manchester City, this will really help with goal difference. It might be a bit too much to ask for them in terms of trying to flip the goal difference around, because even with these 4 goals tonight, Arsenal are still ahead on goal difference by 8. But, you know, a heavy Arsenal defeat maybe and a big City win, it can all change around, so it does help scoring the goals here. And it's another Walker assist. Walker got the assist for the first goal tonight for Kevin De Bruyne, as Barco plays it through for Welbeck. Adingra is free on the right. Adingra in the box. Heavy touch, can get the shot off. It's well blocked by Gvardiol, who seemed to not get a touch. And it'll be a goal kick instead. On the halfway line, Barco played it in behind the City defence there for Welbeck, who had to slow it down. He eventually played it to his right to Adingra, who burst into the box. Bit of a heavy touch, which allowed Gvardiol to get across. Gvardiol slid in. Gvardiol actually got the first touch, and his touch kicked it off Adingra, who then obviously sent the ball out of play. So rightly giving goal kick there. And City try and build out from the back in a right back position here with Akanji. Foden's down though, holding the back of his head, so stops played. Play has been stopped. Foden in a little bit of pain here. He had the ball on the edge of the box and he was just knocked there by Van Hecke. He was obviously doing some sort of man marking job there. Van Hecke from centre back, all the way on the edge of the City box. Just caught him with, I don't know if it was with his shoulder or his elbow, but he definitely did just catch the back of Foden's head. He was trying to get the ball off City's number 47, who's looking for a 3rd hat-trick of the season tonight, with 25 to play. And there is Gareth Southgate in the crowd. Of course, he'll be looking at the likes of Phil Foden and Lewis Dunk as the only 2 players on the pitch who have been a part of the England set for a while. And of course, Kyle Walker. But it's a given that he's in the squad. I mean, it's a given that Phil Foden's in the squad, but he's probably just reminding himself, Gareth Southgate, how good Foden is, as he's now on 24 goals in all competitions now this season. Phil Foden, 12 more than he got last season. He's now on 51 Premier League goals in his career. Crazy numbers for Phil Foden, and he turns 24 next month. Just mesmerising stuff for someone his age. So back underway. Foden didn't receive any medical treatment, just needed a minute. As it's Ake towards the corner flag on the far side, going down the line here for Gvardiol. Inside to Kovacic, then back to Ake. Now Rodri in the 18-yard box, finding Ake again, who goes across to Akanji. It's so well kept, beating the aggressive Brighton press here. It's now with Kyle Walker on the near side. bringing it forward, midway side zone half, finding Alvarez, wanting to return it to Walker, and he'll find him in behind. Walker charging away. He wants a hat-trick of assists. Walker in the box. Can he find the pass? He'll go across towards Kovacic, dealt with by Van Hecke, and headed back to steal by Belair. But there just seems a lack of confidence for Kyle Walker when he goes towards goal in terms of maybe trying to score himself. He always looks for the pass. He might have been better going on his own there and shooting. I mean, Kyle Walker, in fairness, hasn't scored for 919 days. That's when his last goal was in the Champions League against Club Brugge back in October 2021. But, you know, he's obviously just feeling the assists tonight. Already got 2. Kyle Walker. Brighton try and play out from the back. Right centre half here, Van Hecke in his own defensive third here. Needs to try and clear it. He'll clear it down the line. Touched down by a Dingra. And he can get around Ake, but his touch goes out of play. And on the halfway line, it will be a throw-in for Manchester City. We're going to make a change shortly with their number 27, Mateus Nunes, to come on. And also Jack Grealish. As Mateus Nunes, who was brought in from Wolves quite late in the window, he actually played against Brighton already this season for Wolves, and he was sent off against them back in August. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep his cool this time with a quarter of the game left to play here. City have it on halfway with Manuel Akanji. Him and Ake have played really well at the back, I believe. Rodri's gone short again, looking for Ake. Adingra lifts it to the left of João Pedro. It just goes behind the Brazilian. It will be kept alive by Barco. He will keep it away from Walker, lose that to Bernardo Silva, and the attack's dead for Brighton. That was an opportunity. If that went just in front of Pedro, that was an opportunity for Brighton, but it went behind him, and the attack faded out. It's now a Walker on halfway on this near side. Alvarez making the run forward. Won't find him. Keeps it simple instead. Bernardo Silva just inside his own half at the moment, finding Foden, who's just picking up more central areas, central positions at the moment. Okay, into Kovacic. Rodri. Brilliant day for those Manchester City fans. 9-hour trip it'll be altogether. From Manchester to Brighton, back to Manchester again. But they're enjoying their night out here as Walker's chasing this ball down, putting him behind by Bernardo Silva, dealt with in a left-back position by Danny Welbeck. Getting back, doing his defensive work, and Brighton have the ball back in the edge of the 18-yard box of Van Hecke. Goes out to the right-back position here of Offia, brought off the bench at half-time for Brighton. And he brings it forward. Brilliant running by Offia. And he gets away from Gavardio. This is really good into the final third. Offia's still going. Finds Adingra. He then goes to Pedro, who can turn away from De Bruyne. Pedro still has it in the right wing position, driving forward away from Alvarez. Pedro still going beyond Ake. What a run trip from behind by Gavardio. It's got to be a penalty. Wow. Not given. Of course, VAR will check it. And VAR is John Brooks. Gavardio certainly didn't touch him. Pedro wants it. 2 really good runs there from Brighton players. Offia to get it down the right flank. He's tripped there. It's got to be a penalty. Surely. He gets away from Ake. Gavardio comes across. Doesn't get any of the ball. Clips Pedro. Sends him down. That looks to be a penalty for me. Play continues. I'm not sure if VAR is still checking it. There's Barco. Down the left-hand side here for Brighton with 20 to play. Midway inside the City half. Goes inside to Pedro. Touch inside. Keeps away from Akanji. But can't get away from Rodri. And Edison gets rid. And the game will be paused. Oh, no penalty. Wow. I'm surprised. That surprises me. There's definitely contact. How intentional it is, I don't know. But Pedro did really well. Just turned forward and ran for it. I think just letting off a bit of his frustration there. Just running at goal. Trying to make something happen. He got away from Ake. Gavardio came over and tripped him. Am I missing something? You know, João Pedro gets in front of Gavardio, which then ignites the trip. But João Pedro hasn't intentionally put himself in front of Gavardio, by the way. He's not looking for it. He's not trailing out a leg. That's surprised me. That really has surprised me. As Manchester City eventually make their 2 changes here, Phil Foden, who will not be allowed to score his 3rd hat-trick of the season, he'll be replaced by Matheus Nunes, and Kevin De Bruyne, who scored the first for Manchester City, that diving header from the flying Belgian, will be replaced by Jack Grealish. So Foden off for Nunes, De Bruyne off for Grealish. Manchester City's number 10. 2 starts in the last 5 now for Grealish, including tonight, since his return from injury, where he was out from December through to January. Not as had as much of a successful season as he would have wanted to, Grealish, after really stepping up for Manchester City last season with his performances. Because with Grealish, people do have to remember it's not his goals that are what make him work at Manchester City. It's his overall play within the system, the way he keeps the ball, the way he moves, the way he gets back, the way he holds his position. It really does help Manchester City tick like they always do. It'll be a Manchester City throw in here, midway inside their own half, near side, be taken by Kyle Walker, who's never scored or lost against Brighton when he's played against them. Kovacic goes to the left to Nunes, now to Grealish on the edge of the box, finds the runner Gavardiol towards the byline, across it goes, it's a lifted ball, caught by Steele and rolled out quickly to Pascal Gross on the edge of the box. It's now to the left back of Igor, forward to Barco on halfway, not many options around him, finds Pedro inside, and then back he goes to Igor to keep the ball for Brighton in their own half. It's just not quite happened for Brighton tonight. Well beaten so far, and it's not very promising if their home form starts to dip, because their home form is what's kept them going this season, because their away form has been absolutely horrific. They've only won 1 of their last 11 Premier League away games from the 3rd of December through to their last Premier League game, which was away at Burnley on the 13th of April. And it's Offia sending Adingra away down the right-hand side. Akanji gets there first. Adingra was onside, but Akanji was always going to beat him to the ball. And he goes back to Edison, who then goes forward to Rodri on the edge of the 18-yard box. And once again, it's the team from Manchester who have themselves on the ball. And they'll take their time with it, with Grealish going back to the edge of the area here to Ake. Manchester City have scored in all 14 games now against Brighton in the Premier League. It's a great record they've got against Brighton in the Premier League. It's now 12 wins for City against them in 14 Premier League games, as Grealish has been pickpocketed in the midfield. Welbeck from the edge of the box, chops onto his left foot. Across the box he goes and shoots with the left foot. It's his weak foot, and you can tell, misdirected. Looking for that top left corner, but high and wide it went. Grealish tried to win the ball back as he lost it, but Welbeck chopped past him. But the shot and the final product wasn't good enough from Welbeck, and it'll be his last involvement in the game. Danny Welbeck, the former Manchester United attacker, will be replaced here by another Irish striker for Brighton, 19 years of age, like Evan Ferguson. But this man's name is Mark O'Mahony, brought in from Cork for 50 grand in January 2023. He made his debut for the first team in their last game against Burnley as a very late substitute. So a bit longer on the pitch for him this time out for Mark O'Mahony. So another change for Brighton, and it's City on the ball on halfway with Rodri tripped from behind there by João Pedro. And Rodri looking rather tired on that pitch. I'm surprised they've not brought him off yet. To be fair, they don't really have anyone to replace him with in terms of that Rodri kind of player. It's like a holder at the moment. Obviously, Kovacic could probably do that job in fairness, but Rodri stays on for the moment. It's Akanji on the ball at right centre-back. Near side now with Walker. Back into Akanji, forward to Nunes, who can take it on the turn, pulled back by Baleba. And it's an easy yellow card to give for the referee. was going to be away there, Nunes, but Beleba said no to that, pulled his shirt, and yellow card for Brighton's number 20, making his 7th start in a row in the Premier League tonight. Carlos Beleba, just at the age of 20, turned 20 at the turn of the year, 3rd of January, his birthday. So City get restarted again. Kovacic out to the left wing here to Grealish. He's got Gvardiol in support. He'll lay it off to the Croatian. So now with another Croatian of Kovacic, tripped by O'Mahony. But they've kept it moving with Rodri. Now it's to the right wing to Bernardo Silva. He's got the run of Nunes, but doesn't use him. Goes to Walker instead. It's now with Nunes. It goes back into Bernardo Silva here. It's now with number 27, Mateus Nunes again, who started 3 of the last 11 for Manchester City in the Premier League. Not scored yet for his new club since joining for £53 million from Wolves near the end of the window. City have it in the centre circle here with Rodri. 13 minutes to play at the Amex. It's Brighton who are being toyed with here. The City just keep the ball. Nunes on the right wing position, lays it off to Walker, who's been forced to go backwards there by Barco. He gets the last touch. And it'll be a Manchester City throw. And we're going to get 3 Manchester City changes here. And the first one will be Bernardo Silva. He'll be replaced by Jeremy Doku, who will play on this right wing for Manchester City. He was a bit of a game changer, Jeremy Doku, when he came on against Real Madrid. The second change will be Captain Kyle Walker, who will be replaced by number 82, Rico Lewis, making his 49th Manchester City first team appearance. As Nathan Ake will be given the armband there by Kyle Walker. Proud moment for Ake. Not sure if he's had the armband before for Manchester City. And the third and final change, we'll see that rest for Rodri, the number 16 off for Sergio Gomez. There's Kyle Walker just having a discussion here with Pep Guardiola. So Rodri's unbeaten run continues. 69 games now without a defeat in regulation time for Rodri. So some minutes for players who are a bit more squad players for City, the likes of Rico Lewis, who doesn't start all the time, same for Sergio Gomez, who, in fairness to Sergio Gomez, just doesn't get on the pitch all the time. Just his 15th appearance of the season in all competitions for the man they brought in from Anderlecht. So City trying to win the ball back in the Brighton half. João Pedro with it, tackled by Akanji. Kovacic tries to go inside to Alvarez, loses out in the end to Barco, who can't find O'Mahony. So it's back with Rico Lewis now in the Manchester City half. 11 minutes to play. City looking for their 5th win here at the Amex in the Premier League. Their last win here was back in October 2021. They've also won here in July 2020, which was their biggest win here, which was a 5-0 win. So they're one off that tonight. I'm not sure they'll be too bothered if they don't get the 5th tonight, as long as they win and don't concede. Edison with the ball for City in the 18-yard box. Lifts it out to the left-hand side here, where it's Gvardiol to touch it into Sergio Gomez. Now into Nathan Ake. Towards the byline here, Ake goes across to Edison, who goes forward to Doku, who's in a central position there. Loses out, though. It's now with Gross as he gets the ball there from Igor. It's now with Barco, the left-back. Being chased down from behind by Alvarez, but he keeps it with Pascal Gross. So with Igor, 10 minutes to play here. Brighton have got it on halfway with Dunk. Kills it out to the right-hand side to Offia. He's not played that bad since coming on at half-time. Odell Offia, the 21-year-old. As mentioned before, spent the first half of the season on loan at Hearts in Scotland. It's a ball out wide to the left to Barco in the final third. Controls it for Brighton and crosses it and overcooks it completely over the crossbar and behind for a Manchester City goal kick. But for City, this will be their 18th win in their last 20 midweek games in the Premier League over the last 3 seasons. The 2 times where they haven't won in those previous 19 have been here against Brighton, 1-1 back in May 2023, and also that defeat against Aston Villa, their last loss in the Premier League back in December 2023. So Grealish has it left wing position, running at Van Hecke, midway side the Brighton half. He's got runs being made by Doku. Gvardiol's also there in the overlap. Grealish taking a bit too long to release it, and eventually has to go all the way back to the halfway line to Ake. It's now with Sergio Gomez, who has now come on in in 3 of the last 4 for Manchester City in the Premier League, which is nice for the Spaniard to get a few runs out. Only started 2 games last season, Sergio Gomez, in the Premier League, and they were near the end of the season against Chelsea and Brentford. Akanji on the edge of the box. Goes to the right back of Lewis. City try and build out from their own half. Forward to Doku. Touch goes straight to Barco. Brighton have the chance here. Barco towards Adingra. Difficult ball to control. Right near the penalty spot there. Went just under his leg there, Adingra. And behind for a goal kick. Well won that from City. Good pressing to force the error from Doku, but the ball from Barco is just a bit too high. Not like ridiculous up towards his head. It's just bit too lifted off the ground, and it was too overhit, and it was a difficult one for Adingra to control. The City looked to counter it. Alvarez to Núñez on halfway, bringing Rico Lewis into play, driving inside from the right full-back position, trying to spin and turn to play the pass to Alvarez, but stopped by Barco, sent to the ground. But City take it quickly through Lewis. 1-2 here with Núñez. Bit of movement being made by Grealish, who's making a running behind here. Núñez will try and find him, but the pass is overhit. And seen behind for a goal kick there by Van Hecke. So Brighton goal kick with 7 minutes to play here. This season's just going from bad to worse for Brighton, but it's now a very symmetrical record they have, which is pleasing to the eye. Brighton in the Premier League have lost 11, they've drawn 11, and they've now lost 11 as well. Scoring 52, but conceding 54, so not quite symmetrical with the goals, but they are now negative in the goal difference, which isn't a great stat for them. As they try and play out here, Offia on halfway, beyond the halfway line now, the right back brings it forward, being chased down by Grealish. Offia still has it, plays a backwards hit to Pascal Gross. It's now on the halfway line with Van Hecke, all Manchester City players behind the ball. It's with the left centre half here of Igor. On this near side with Barco. To the edge of the box here. O'Mahony touches it back to Barco, just away from him, but he can keep it in here, the Argentine, on his first start for the club. Finding the pass to the right to Baleba. And then across, hitting the referee, Jared Gillett. So it'll be a drop ball for Brighton to restart once again. Referee born in Queensland, Australia. His first Premier League game was back in September 2021. I think the first referee brought in from overseas to officiate in the Premier League as Jason Steele goes long towards Adingra. Edison comes out. Clearance isn't great. Drops here for Offia. Doesn't fancy the strike. Number 42, the centre-back, didn't fancy it, shooting from 50 yards to try and catch out Edison. So just kept the ball instead, and it's now worked to this near side to João Pedro. Left wing, running at Lewis. Plays it through to the gap here of Igor. Pulls it across. Pedro with the shot. Wide it goes. He'll be disappointed with himself there, João Pedro, who's not scored in 2.5 months in the Premier League. A lot of that time he's not scored. He has been out injured. But he played a nice ball down the flank there for Igor, who returned it to João Pedro at the near post. And from 6 yards out, on his own, he's gone for the first time shot, and he's got to at least get it on target. Like I say, he'll be disappointed with himself there, João Pedro. He's not got that on target and not got it in the back of the net. He's scored a lot of goals this season for them, João Pedro. He's got 19 in his first season here. 10 of them have been penalties, in fairness. But they've worked that well, but it's just a little bit too little too late for Brighton. Their first real opening, cutting through this Manchester City defence, was with 5 minutes to play. I think the only positive for De Zerbi is the fact that this second half is only 1-0 to Manchester City, but it has involved Manchester City probably not playing at full speed, with the fact they had a 3-goal lead going into the game. City play out Akanji forward to Alvarez, just dropping a little bit deeper for the ball into his own half. Finds the right back of Rico Lewis. Akanji on the edge of the area, keeping it away from João Pedro, who's following him with his every step. Now Ake across the number 82 of Rico Lewis, who had started the last 3 Premier League games in a row, but that did include not coming off the bench in the games against Real Madrid and the one at the weekend against Chelsea. So being utilised well as a squad player, Rico Lewis, who's still getting a decent amount of game time for his age at just 19. Younger than me, Rico Lewis, which is a little bit scary. Such a promising player. Obviously been part of the England setup as well, hasn't he, this season, which has been a fantastic moment for him. And could he get on that plane to the Euros? It'll be someone Southgate looks at, because he's a good, versatile player to have, Lewis, with a good bit of youth as well. He'll be a lot less fearless than the others, and he can play that right back role. He can tuck into the midfield if needs be, and obviously when he's training with such good players every week and with such a good coach as well, he's definitely got to have a shout for that Euro squad. And he can also play left back as well, which England are a little bit short on at the moment, it must be said. He's got 2.5 minutes left to play here at the Amex. It's Brighton 0, Manchester City 4. City go into second place in the table. They will be 1 point off Arsenal, who are top at the moment, but City will have a game in hand on them, so there's a chance for City to go to the top as we are coming towards the final month of the season. City have it midway inside their own half here. Ake with the ball, as there's plenty of empty seats around the Amex. The fans have already seen enough. They know the result won't change, and results in general for Brighton just haven't been good enough recently under De Zerbi. As it's now Ake in the box with the ball. No one pressing him for Brighton and Hove Albion at the moment. And interestingly enough, for Manchester City, the last 2 times that they've been here in the league, in midweek, they've been champions. When they lost against them 3-2, Brighton's only win against City in the Premier League 3-2 was back in May 2021. City had already wrapped up the league, and then when City came here last season as well in the midweek, they were already champions as well. So they usually come here to just have a nice relaxing game of football to end the season, but this hasn't been one where they could come into it relax, but they've been relaxed for the majority once they got 3-0 up within the first half an hour of the game. Thank you to everyone who is still here. I know not what's going on in the game. I do apologise. Can't quite make it as exciting as it isn't. There's nothing to be excited about. It's just Manchester City keeping the possession at the moment. But make sure you do come back for the next 2 commentaries this week. Next one on Saturday, 5:30 kickoff. Chelsea women hosting Barcelona women in the Champions League semi-final second leg. Chelsea currently lead that one 1-0. And then on Monday night, we've got Leicester travelling to Preston to try and guarantee their spot in the Premier League for next season. Doku on the right, crossing into the box. It deflects. It's a diving header away by Baleba. Straight to Nunez for Manchester City. He will go back into the centre circle to Ake. Forward straight away to Kovacic. And it's City who will try and go again for a 5th. He'll match their highest victory against Brighton. Akanji has it. Goes to the halfway line here to Ake. Forward to Nunez, back to Ake. Pass was a little short, nearly took off him by Adingra. But City just able to keep knocking this ball around. We've hit the 90th minute, 5 added on. 5 more long minutes for Brighton to play. As João Pedro tries to nick it. And as he's tried to nick it, he's been tripped by Ake, the man with the armband for City. And that'll be a free kick for Brighton, given by the referee, Jared Gillett. Good run in there from João Pedro, who's definitely tried tonight. It's not quite worked for him, unfortunately. So they worked it to the left wing to João Pedro, who will deliver this into the box. There's players in there for Brighton. He'll go through to the far post. Cannot be controlled by Adingra. Bounces off his right foot. And behind for a goal kick. 4 minutes left to play here of additional time. And City pretty much had this game wrapped up in the first half. They were 3-0 up, a goal from De Bruyne, then 2 from Foden. And then they've added one since through Julian Alvarez, who scored his first goal in the Premier League since the end of January, where he scored twice against Burnley. Alvarez has now scored the same amount of goals this season than he did in the whole of last season in all competitions, as Núñez bursts forward with the ball for City, goes to his right here to Alvarez. Rico Lewis is on once more, and he'll play it to Lewis in the space, in the box. Touch, goes across, since cleared on the penalty spot by Van Hecke. He was looking for Grealish. Brighton will try and counter. Barco forward to O'Mahony. And then back to Igor, then forward to Gross. And then crossing out to the right, it goes here to Adingra. He's got the run of Offia in front of him, but he goes back instead to Gross. And then across to Igor, still on the halfway line for Brighton, 3 to play. Now with Barco, midway side of the City half, on this near side. Assessing the options, wanting to go forward. He will go forward here. Brighton want one more chance if they can. Baleba. It's now with Dunk. Across to Van Hecke, just in front of the centre circle. Out to the right here to Adingra. Gets the ball under control. Can he cross it? He will deliver a ball in. It's a high one. It's a header away by Akanji. Falls to Barco here on the Brighton left, who's going to recycle it into the box. Another ball in. It's a header won by Ake. And behind for a corner for Brighton. 2.5 minutes to play. They're looking for a consolation goal here, as they've been well beaten by Manchester City. Well beaten twice at home now this month by the 2 top teams in the league. Arsenal came here and gave them a good beating as well. I think it was 3-0, wasn't it, the one against Arsenal. As the cross goes in, header away by Ake. Van Hecke was attacking it. So it'll fall to Baleba here, who goes all the way back into his own half here to Jason Steele. Who's midway side his own half here. Just plays it forward 10 yards to Dunk, who's come back from the attack of the corner. And so has Van Hecke, who's on the ball now. Goes out to the right to Offia. Time on the ball here for Brighton's number 42. Wants to play the ball in behind, but City's line's high. And Adingra was offside, so he goes back to Van Hecke. He will try it in behind here for Offia. Cut out though by Gavardio. He will send it over the top for Doku. Cut out by the side challenger Van Hecke. But straight to Alvarez, who goes through to Doku on the left side of the box. Doku first time. Brilliant save with the left boot of Steele. Still needs to be dealt with here. Is Alvarez pulled down by Igor. Not enough in that for a penalty. And Brighton will look to try and clear this if they can. Baleba with it. Kicks it off Kovacic. Throwing in the left back position for Brighton. Almost a fifth. Doku tried to get it the first time off Gavardio, but it was taken off him by Van Hecke and eventually got to him through the pass of Alvarez. Just not enough in the corner there by Doku, who scored in Manchester City's last league game against Luton in a 5-1 win 12 days ago. As it's now Manchester City with throwing. Midway side the Brighton half on this near side with Rico Lewis. Take his time with this throwing. Waiting for a bit of movement. Throws it to Alvarez. Forward to Doku. Gets away from Dunk. And Igor. And Baleba. Now to Núñez. On once more to Grealish. 1-on-1 with Offia on the edge of the box. Grealish forced to go back instead then. To Gavardio. Then forward to Núñez. Back out to the left to Jack Grealish. Who goes back here to Gomez. Forward to Núñez. Then out to Grealish again. We've nearly hit the 5th minute of added on time here. We've now played 5 minutes. The referee checks the watch. And then gets the whistle to his lips and blows that whistle for full time. Manchester City win at Brighton by 4-0. It's a champions display. They are the holding champions. They've won the last 3 league titles in a row. They're wanting to make it 4. And destiny for that 4th league title in a row is in their hands. They jump into 2nd place. They're now 1 point off Arsenal with a game in hand. It's looking like the ribbons on that Premier League title may just be City blue again. They were 3-0 up at half-time, the opener from Kevin De Bruyne, 17 minutes in a diving header from a walk across. Foden then scored twice in 8 minutes, one from a free kick which deflected beyond Jason Steele, and another one was a well-placed finish into the bottom left corner after an error at the back from Brighton. After half-time, City knew they didn't need to score that many goals. They already were well ahead, but they added one more to their tally. Julian Alvarez with the goal, his first in the Premier League since late January. It was a brilliant finish from Julian Alvarez, as he got the ball squared to him by Walker. The goalkeeper wasn't in the net, but Dunk got himself on the line, but Alvarez was able to sweep it towards the left-hand side of the goal to make it City 4 up at Brighton. That's how it's finished it down south for Manchester City's long travel on a Thursday night. It's such a demanding season for them, but every season they make it happen, they make it work. And they have come away here with the 3 points. Brighton, it's just one win now in 1 win in 8 Premier League games for Brighton. They stay in 11th place. They now dip into the bottom half of the table. It's looking like this season could be a slight disaster for them. Looks like they might not have European football next season. And there's big question marks if De Zerbi will stay or go as well. So they've got some work to do. Brighton, that is for sure. But against one of the best teams in all the land, in all the world, they have struggled badly at home, and they have been defeated by 4-0. Thanks to everyone who did tune in and who listened. Like I say, it wasn't the most eventful second half, but I do appreciate everyone who stuck around. If you do want to become a member, you don't have to, but if you do, it's extra content. It's a weekly podcast. The first one is coming out tomorrow. They should be coming out every Friday. We'll be covering the title race in the first weekly podcast, which I'll be recording straight after this. So if you want to become a member, you certainly can. It's £5 a month to become a star player. It really helps the channel out, and it gives you extra content as well. But for tonight, this will be the end of the live commentary here from the Amex. Manchester City came here to do a job, and that job was simply to win. They've done that in a resounding fashion, coming to Brighton, knowing they've got a decent record here at home, but not being feared by that. They've come here, smashed them, got the 3 points. They're now one behind Arsenal with a game in hand. Will it be Manchester City to win the title again? We'll have to wait and see. But here at the Amex, it finishes Brighton 0, Manchester City 4.